let's solve this problem. Let's see what we have. Yesterday I wasn't able to solve the problem, bro. So I didn't upload any videos. I tried, but I was like nowhere near. So I decided not to upload. But what do we have right now? Given array of characters in a grid, you need to find if there exists any cycle consisting of same values in the grid, length of 4 or more in the grid that starts and ends at the same cell. For a given cell, you can move to one of the cells or just in one of the 4 directions. Okay, if it has, okay, it's given from a given cell. So if you are at A, like if you take this, we can go down, you can go up. Okay, up won't be possible. Right, left, right. Also, you cannot move to the cell that you visited in your last move. For example, 1 is invalid because from 1 2 we visited 1, which was the last visited cell. Okay, so return true if any of this, if any cycle in the same value. Okay, so let's try to think about it a little bit. Okay, we have what, a grid, right? Let's say you have A, B, A, B. So cycle exists here, right? How will we check? If we start from here, what it's saying is, 1 second, if there exists from a given cell, you can move in one of the adjacent. So if we move here, A exists, and then you cannot move to the cell you visited in your last move. From here, if I go back, that's not allowed because from cycle 1 is true, return true. So if I go down here again, can I go back? Okay, let me have a real simple example first of a 2 by 2 matrix that has a circle. 1 second. Oh, bro, I can't draw a straight line with my mouse. Okay, let's assume all values are A for now. Okay, so how are we checking? We check for 0 0, right? And then we go either left, right. If we go up would be like negative x, that's negative y, sorry, not possible, so that condition. And then we go down, so it's 0 1 0 1, we go to 1 0, right? Up is not possible, up is not possible, we go down to 1 0, and there's A. So if the value is same, we continue, right? But it also says you cannot move from a given cell, you cannot move to the cell adjacent to it. And if it has the same value, you cannot move to the cell that you visited in your last move. So each cell I will have a visited boolean. So initially, if I have a visited is true, then I go down. Visited is true. Do I make it false when I go down? No, right? I will make it false in the third. If I go here, then here, I have visited this too, visited this, which was the last visited cell. Also, you cannot that in your last move. So first move is here, second move, we can't go from here to here, but if I go here, I will make this visited false. But they also said the length is 4, right? I read somewhere length of 4. Okay, let's give an example. Oh, look at this. So is it like a DP problem? We have to visit each cell. So what I'm thinking is, okay, let me write down what I'm thinking. We loop row and column. Each cell we consider separate and check left, right, up and down, right? To mark visited for the previous cell. But if I mark the previous cell visit, so okay, and then what do we have to see if we reach? So length is 4, minimum length is 4, so I can't have this as a loop. So this 3 is never allowed, has to go like all 4. So if I have something like if I have B here, so I have this full loop and I can't, this is not valid. Right. If it has the same value, so do I need, it has the same value, also you cannot move to the cell. Okay, let's try to do what I can. Integer n equals to grid dot length, that's the number of rows. Integer, let me write as rows and columns. Row and column equals to grid bracket 0 dot length, right? So we have to loop for integer I equals to 0, I must be less than rows and I plus plus, and then for integer j equals to 0, j must be less than columns j plus plus. Okay, 1 second, right, j plus plus. And now here we need the logic. If now itself, this has to go here, like all this has to go over there. Each cell, so for each cell I check, you need to move each cell up and down, right? So how will I move a cell? Do I create a function to move up and down? And if I do create a function up and down, I also needed to check if the next value is same. If it's not same, we return false or we cancel. So, and then we do continue, right? Then we go to the next. So let's say if I was here, A, and if I go down, that's B. That's false, but I still have to check the other directions. So I need to check all directions. So let me have a function called direction check, right? Private direction check. What do I want the function to return? Should I return Boolean value that there is a loop? Yeah, let's, each cell we consider separate. Private, I think Boolean, that there exists a direction. And what does this function take? It takes the grid. It's in character array grid comma integer row, integer column, and then if I have first row and column, right, that's it, right? And then I have to move to the next one. So again we loop here again, or no? Okay, let's, okay, and then I need to have rows and columns. So let's have an array directions equals to array. Do I hard code directions like plus minus values, or okay, equals to array of arrays. So if I have to go up would be minus 1 comma 0, right, comma array. If I have to go down 1 comma 0, I have to add, right? Then they have asked us to go left would be 0 comma minus 1 comma right is we add it to our x axis equals to integer array. Oh, let me, equals to integer array. So it's an array of array. What am I doing? I need to put it under a set. Let's see. Did I forget how to initialize arrays? How do I hardcode? To hardcode an array, do I not do like this? What am I? Oh, bro. This is like a brain fart moment. Okay, how to initialize or hardcode array. Ah, yeah, it's a set. But I want to have a set of x and y, so do I have this? Right. So what are we going to loop again? Teacher row and column is given. We have a teacher x-axis equals to number of R and C, right? What am I? Row column is the R comma C is the coordinate, right? So I don't get confused later. Now for integer x equals to 0, x must be less than grid dot length plus plus, and then for if y equals to 0, y must be less than grid bracket 0 dot length y plus plus. So now we're looping within the grid, right? And what do we want? We want to check if a row and column, if this row ij value for ij, did I need this loop, or for ij value you have to check all the directions? We're checking directions here, right? Oh man, this is so hard. Let's look at some hints. Keep track of the previous position to avoid. Use DFS, or what is DFS? Isn't that like a graph term? I think if there is a cycle. Okay, I have directions, so I'm going through the array, and then what do I want? I want my integer row and like the coordinate of the cell. Integer new column equals to r plus x, right? And integer new new row and new column equals to r plus column plus y. No. I don't have to go plus x and y. I have to go plus the directions. So sorry. So it should be for teacher array direct. So for each direction actions, I have to check integer new x value is row plus -1, and integer new y value equals to column plus not -1, sorry, row plus direct bracket 0 and column plus direct bracket 1, right? So this we loop through all the directions for new x and y value. So if we start at row and column, we have the new coordinate. What do we want to check? We want to check if now we have the next, we have 4 new neighbors, right? Neighbors. Now if value is different, right? If the value is different, what do we want to do? Do we return false? We don't want to return, because we still have to check the other 3 directions. If value is different in all directions, if value is different, we stop at that, right? But if value is same, we look at the next value. So if I go a down, a exists. Now I want to look at the next value, that is a. But wait, I also need to assign visited status, right? Okay, if I boolean, do I create how will I assign every cell boolean value as well? I don't want to modify the grid, right? Should I create a new value? No, but thinking how do I initialize all visited status for oh man, this is so right now if you look at the main loop, we're looping through each cell, and in each cell I want to check direction check, right? I'm doing a direction check if there exists a direction that I can go. So I'm taking the full grid, taking the row and column, like the coordinate of the current thing, and then I have the plus my up, down, left, right things here. Then I'm looping through all the directions. Yeah, I'm getting the coordinate of the next cell, and I check if nx, if grid bracket nx comma ny equal to grid bracket row and column. If it's equal, we continue. If it's equal, what do I want to do? Then I want to check the next again, like I want to recall this function. So it looks like a recursion, because yeah, if I go from A, I'm checking all 4 directions, right? So if I go to the next one, I need to check all 4 directions for this as well. Next value, again check all 4 directions. Oh man. So if I want to recheck, so do I call the direction check on that again? But I need to have a base. What is the base condition? Recursion, I guess. Recursion is needed. What's the base condition then? When do I want to stop the recursion? When also cannot move. What is this from a given cell? You also cannot move the cell you visited, for example. When we find a cycle, we stop. Bro, this is such a headache. Let's think. If grid bracket what nx comma root of x comma ny is not equal to grid bracket grid bracket row comma column, right? We want to continue. We don't want to break, we want to check. Continue. Is this correct? Okay, here, let me ask. I don't want to go in circles. Okay. Add cycle exists if you revisit it in a direction array strongly repeated. Oh. Visited. By default in Java, must pass the parent cell. Okay. Now this is what the hint said. DFS, the recursion you were confused about. From a cell xy, explore neighbors of neighbor, same character, cycle phone. So I have directions. Okay, I should have done this. Okay, so I need to have directions up there, right? So I have directions. I have row and columns, right? So so I create another. So they want us to create boolean visited row and column equals to what? So new boolean row boolean array. What am I doing, bro? Boolean visited equals to new boolean. So for an I and j, they create a function called visited. If not visited, for I and j, they check if visited I and j is false. Initially everything will be false, right? So if 0 0, if I have not visited it, I want to check. So to them if visited of I and j, if not visited I and j, right? I'm checking if DFS, or like our function. Why does we have -1 and -1 here? Oh, so I have an xy, previous x and previous y. Okay, I need. Can you explain the -1 at DFS method? So what are -1 and -2 4? Okay, think of stuff. So what's happening here is if grid, if visited of ij, and then if DFS of grid visited ij -1. So what is this DFS function doing? So I have a grid, I have the visited. Okay, I'm taking both the matrix. I'm taking current row and column, and I'm taking previous or parent. It's the same thing, right? Let me call it parent for this problem. So so I initialize the current x and y values to true for directions, new x and y. Okay, boundary check. If our new x is less than 0 or new y is less than 0 or greater than, then we continue. If grid of nx, if it's not the same, we continue. If not visited, that means right here, if our values are same, and if it's not visited, that means the value is false. We do again if grid of visited and x and y comma and x and y comma x. Why do we have x and y here? So explain this. So when we find a non-visited cell with same value, we do, so we pass n x comma n y as the current coordinate, but y, x and y don't we need direction check. Why do we call y map? The key idea, when you move from xy becomes the new parent cell. Oh yeah, we're talking about parent. So what happens, so this was parent, right? So previous cell, and then so we keep a track of the parent. Okay, understood. Okay, so we keep a track. So this here is only for parent, but if r is not equals to return, if not visited, go deeper, visited not parent, return false. So why do we have two true conditions? Why do we have two true conditions? We returned from two different, a deeper DFS call already found a circle. Some circle, this neighbor is already not visited. Think of case one, we found deeper. A, B, C, D, found a cycle here. When a neighbor is not, when new x is not equals to our parent x. For example, let's see, you see A visited, directed here. So, but you see A is okay because we have 4. If I omit the last one, visited and not parent, won't the result be same either way? We only need to find one cycle to return true, right? Let's take a look at what happens if we delete. Then DFS only does. That means you only go deeper if you never detect a cycle if the cycle actually exists. So why we can't be added to the same check with AND operator. Oh, I'm getting wrong. हाँ जी भैया हाँ होगी थी हाँ ठीक है ओके sorry about that go deeper. Oh Yes, you're correct. Okay, let's try to build the function. I still need okay, I can just do this DFS that takes in grid. Let me just for integer y, then also takes an integer parent x comma integer parent y. Right. Let me delete this method. So if we'll check if DFS of what. We also need to give it the character array of visited. Sorry. If DFS if, so we need to give it initially the grid comma visited, then we give it the current I and j values, I comma j, and then we initialize to default parent as -1 and -1. Okay, then here what do? We have to go through the directions, right? For each direction for teacher array directions and direction, is it S? Yeah, directions. What are we doing? Integer new x equals to x plus, we also initialize visited status, visited x bracket y equals to true, integer new x equals to x plus direction bracket 0, right? And then we go to integer new y equals to y plus the direction of y. Okay, and what do? Visited of new x bracket new y. Oh no, first I have to check if we go out of bounds, if new x is less than 0 or new y is less than 0. Oh, let me do x together. New x is greater than grid dot length, right? New y is greater than grid bracket 0 dot length. Then what do? We continue. We don't do anything, right? Then do I initialize it now, or let me double check? So initialize it visited if greater than or equal to, yes, I don't want to forget the edge case, greater than equal to this. Okay, so continue, and then we'll also check if our values are different. If grid bracket x comma y is not equal to, if the value is different, grid bracket new x bracket new y, we continue. Then what do? If not visited, go deeper. So sorry, if not visited of x comma y visited of new x comma y, sorry, right, new x comma new y. Then we search deeper, then we do DFS of, and check again if DFS of, what do we have, grid comma we have visited comma our new x comma new y values, and our parents are x and y, and if this is true then we return true, right? Else if our new x, this is where I'm confused a little bit. So if true, so what that basically means is else if a new x is not equal to a parent x, or new y is not equal to parent y. So what this means is this happened, we checked this, and this if not equals, so we checked this loop, we checked if the both values were equal, so we have both values equal and visited is true. But I also want to check if visited is true, we check if our values parent is not equals to else if, because these are else if is with this method, right, new x and new y. So if they are not equal, we return true. Okay, and that is it, I think, right? Oh, and also if nothing happens, we return false. And then if DFS of grid visited ij, then we return true. And what do we have to return? True, and if not, we return false. Let's see if this is correct. Line error expected. Line 71 has an error. Okay, did I miss? Let me full screen this. Okay, so I have this that ends here, that's correct. And let me just get rid of these extra spaces. Then I have this function, this. Okay, do I have an extra one? Okay, let me keep track of this. Return true. Let's see, let me just pass it to ChatGPT. Visited is a Boolean array. Oh yes. Boolean. Okay, this is ij if not visited. Return true. Remove this. Return false, right? And then our integer py visited x and y is true. Directions. Okay, so for the array, Boolean visited, right? Let's see. So where did I return false? Up till here I think is correct, right? So I have one open, open, open and close, open and close, open and close, close. Let me just delete this and see what happens. Does it run? Okay. What's the shortcut for? Shortcut to format code. Shift option F. Shift option shift and F. Okay, let's submit it. Okay, did definitely learn some good things. So DFS is depth first. First search what is. Okay, I'm gonna be closing the video and I'm just gonna be searching this by myself. Alright, see you guys tomorrow.